So I think I may have brought this up yesterday, but I don't know. Um, okay. No, before I actually get to the point that I was gonna before I actually get to the point of what I'm gonna talk about, I had a flicker of a moment. This is weird. I am recording my voice, and it is going onto a different space in a way. Essentially, it's this dimensional reality that's a fucking void, bro. It's a void. You know how much information is technically just floating around us, is floating through these mirrors, bro. It's wild to think about. There is so there's so much information. Oh my goodness. So much. And now just imagine if aliens have their own internet. They're not telepaths, you know. They can't communicate through pheromones or things like that. They are basically similar to us. They just evolved to look differently, you know. No, excuse me, I burped. And they now have the internet. What the fuck is their information like? What are their memes like? What do they call memes? We call memes, obviously. There's internet jokes. But what do they call their concept of memes? You know, what do they? Oh my god, we will never, ever truly understand the the infinite scope of infinity. And if you ever get to that point, you lose no matter what. Because if you stay at that point, then you will essentially just be alone. But if you remove yourself from that moment and forget everything, or at least allow yourself to not be attached to knowing everything, or at least understanding everything. One could argue those are two different things. you you lose, but you at least win to a degree. I guess if you do stay in that moment, you do win as well, but you're the only one that wins. While if you lose, at least against that moment, and you win by separating yourself from that and being one of us again. Yes, you lose access to all of that knowledge and understanding and capacity, but you can at least affect everyone else just like we can, you know? And you can just live in the moment. Anyways, um, point of me doing this was so I saw this video in passing, right? Of this guy, and he said go to a hardware store pretty much and buy a fuck. I gotta find the video again, but it was a specific thing of wood. But basically, you get that wood and then you chop it up in like 1 inch pieces, basically. And then you make coasters out of it. You pretty much pay $10 or however much this wood is. You pay for that amount of wood, and then you cut them up into pieces to make coasters. And now you sell them, you know, and they can go for like $20 online. But because there's so many, you could sell them for cheaper if you wanted. Then again, I don't know how many people fucking buy coasters, especially now. But then again, you could just sell them. People may not even need them. You could do a cool thing where you have coasters, but you also buy charcoal, and you put charcoal inside of them, as in like you cut inside the coaster, and then you put charcoal in it, so that then people could just throw it, um, like in a fire, or they could they could start a fire with it basically. They could just burn a bit of it, and then as it burns, then the charcoal catches, and then now all of it's on fire. You know, or not, but I mean, I don't know. I think that'd be a good thing to have, just emergencies. Um, but yeah, and so I thought of it, and then typical thing that a good chunk of us do when you think of like some very simple idea that'll make you a lot of money in the long run, right? Basically, you buy this long thing of wood and then you cut it up, and you end up with like hundreds of pieces of hundreds of pieces of wood, basically hundreds um of coasters, basically. Maybe not hundreds, but you end up with a lot. At least from what I saw, I don't remember if it was 1,030 something or 130 something. But I remember seeing a one and a three, and I think another three, but I forget. Sadly. Um, but he does the typical thing at the end. Oh, there's no excuse for university to be broke. Yeah, true, true. But it also is hard for those who don't have any. Like they lost all their papers, or someone stole them because they stole something that had everything in it. Um, you know, and they smell and live on the streets and they don't have a phone. It's just all these things working against them. Granted, yeah, they could just walk around and pick up cans and they could at least make something so they could feed themselves. Um, you know, and they could just go from there. You know what I mean? They could learn a little something, anything, literally, and then do tricks for people on the street. That sounds so fucked up. Do like I don't know, magic tricks or I don't know, like anything, dude. I don't know, dude. I don't know. I don't know. But you have to remember, right? Every person is like a 1% in a way. Homeless people, that's like 1% of the population. That doesn't mean they shouldn't get help, But at the same time, most of us don't really have time to help them, at least in dramatic or in drastic ways. We're all busy with our own lives, either trying to live them or just trying to survive day to day, pretty much. You know what I mean? You could have a house and have food because you have family that you're staying with, but if you don't have any money, you can't help anyone. You know, you need a job to have money, but if it's not even it's hard to get a job, it's just I'd say it's more so annoying. I'd say that because you could end up in a sales job, but depending on what it is, it's fucking miserable. you know? And no matter what happens, if you don't have any money and you get a job, cool, you have a job, but you still don't have money for like 2 weeks. You know? 2, 3 weeks at worst. Sales jobs, it's typically like 3 weeks. And that's assuming you can actually keep the job in the long run because a good chunk of them, you need to make whatever sales it is, you know? And regardless, even if they keep you if you don't make any money, you're the one not making money, but you're doing the same thing every day. You still have to pay for food and pay for transportation to get to where you need to go. If it's door to door, it's even worse. Because at least if it's outside sales, then you're just standing one place. Typically stores have water, so you can do that. But if it's door to door, now you're walking around expending energy. You need water, you need food. You know. But anyways, dude brought up that idea, so I thought, okay, cool. My plan is when I get this job, I'm gonna work at DD's. It's like up the street from where I live, so yay, DD's discount. I'm just waiting on the background check. I'm gonna call them in the morning. I didn't call them today. Well, I called the background check people, and they needed like address information stuff, like address history. Apparently, they needed it for fucking 7 years back. Holy, like that's wild. I mean, it makes sense, but I've never had to talk to them before. People they've just done my background check, and people, I don't know, it was fine. But yeah, so that happened. But then again, I've never worked retail, so yeah, every job I've had since I got out the military was just sales. Pretty much, it was all it's all just sales, and by sales I mean it's the same functioning, or it's all the borderline shitty companies that all work the same. Pretty much, they all teach you the same marketing, the same marketing stuff. They have the same fucking structure day to day. You're either outside sales or you're inside sales or you're door to door. Um, you know, you're either selling phone lines or selling internet, um, or solar or some charity of some kind. And you have like weird, like rare niche ones where it's like a hospital on a plane or something. I wonder how many times I'm gonna bring up the same things. Like over the course of like this entire year, I wonder how many times. But I think that's because I don't really have any new experiences currently. I kind of just do the same thing every day, which is technically nothing, you know? At least when I start working, then I'll have new things to talk about, you know? I'll finally be able to see if I can handle working at a cash register. I've always been kind of nervous about that whole thing. Like always, you know? Um, but yeah. Yeah. Mm. Anyways, basically, I work at DD's, and then when I get the monies from my first check, I can go to a hardware store and then buy some wood, and then use my uncle's tools to cut the wood and then make coasters. And then I've always had this idea where okay, some of you may not remember, some of you may remember, I don't know, but when I was a kid, that sounds weird. Yes, some of you are going to remember, some of you aren't going to remember when I was a kid and the things I did when I was a child. Okay, when some of us were children, we played games on the computer on the interwebs. God, that sounds so fucking weird when you say it like that. Anyways, no, so like there were like there were like a bunch of, how do I put it? Okay, a lot of the shows we watched had online games that kind of matched with the shows, where you basically went to the store, you bought toys, and then you went home, and there were codes either on the toys or on a card or on the package, and then you put it in the website, right? There's like a specific section, and they literally tell you in the show or on a commercial of the show or something, you know, like when you buy it, then you grab the code, you put it in the game, and then now you have the toy in the game. Woo, yay! You know, they had it for like Beyblade and Bakugan, and those were like the main two I remember. They probably had some other ones, but it's all those shows. It was pretty much all of the kids anime shows where they survived by selling toys, pretty much. They kept it going by selling toys. But I've always thought about doing that, of kind of doing my own thing like that, where I make a website, and then, for example, with this, I also thought of like the company name So Wood, SO, and then maybe like dash Wood, but WOULD, and then that could branch off into like other branches of the company, because once you have one thing going, it's easier to get other things going because you have money, to fund a bunch of stuff, you know. So you could have one that's like So Would Eat, and then that's themed around food and restaurants. And then you could have one that's, this one sounds weird, but So Would Skin, and that's clothing. I couldn't think of anything that would kind of mesh well with that, you know. But yeah, I don't know. I'm still thinking on that one. Um, and then so would game, which would be like indie games. Um, I think I had other ones, but I kind of forgot them. Yeah, but yeah, obviously it would start with the whole like coaster thing, and pretty much I would just yeah. Oh, excuse me. And on the upside, um, in a way, it would kind of just be like a simple investment, kinda. I mean, cause you could just have them forever, and you could just eventually sell all of them, and technically, eventually, you would make your money back, but it may take a while or whatever the fuck. But it's also just depend on advertising too. You know, I could make an Instagram page and just do it that way, or a Twitter, or a YouTube channel, or all of the above. You know, and just do it that way. You know what I mean? But yeah. And then plus, since I work in retail, I could, yeah, I could do that. You know. Also, with retail money, I could like buy custom shirts with the name on it. You know, so would, and then it's has like a link to the website, like a QR code to the website on the shirt, front and back. You know, with the name and everything on it. That'd be nice. You know, that'd be cool. Um, yeah, yeah. And I guess that would also be a way for just anyone to kind of just start any kind of thing, really, you know? Like, realistically, you could sell coasters that have, like, that, like, in a way, they have like, a roadmap of sorts of what you would do with the money or what you would do with your company or whatever the fuck, you know? It could be in pictures or literally just in words. You could just have a giant string of words on the QR code. Or what the fuck? On the coaster. You know, front and back maybe. You know, like at the bottom it's like flip coaster over and it's more words. Um and that's what you do, you know. You just make the coasters and then you could even like carve the words in, or um you could get like basically you could I don't know. Like you could just have different ways to put the words in the wood. You know what I mean? Um, and the point is that it would be a way for people to fund whatever you're doing, or just support a small business, and then actually, one, they get something out of it, and two, you would be able to use that to do whatever else. You know what I mean? You know, like I mean, I think it would be a way for indie companies or in like someone that wants to make a game, um, to get funding for the game. You know what I mean? You know? Yeah. What was it? Oh, well, I mean, yeah, that was kind of it. That was the entire point of this. Yeah. Yeah. That was it. Hmm. And now I'm thinking of who's listening to this in 5 years or in 10 years. You know, as of January 20th, 2031. Who are you? How's your day been? Do you find any parts of me as annoying as I think they are? I hope that made sense. I think that made sense. I hope that made sense. You know? What's your life like? What am I doing? You know? What's my, I don't know, reputation, I guess? I don't fucking know. Do I still have this face? Obviously, you can't see the face, but do I have the face that you have probably seen somewhere? Or have I cut it off yet? Do I still have a head? You know, like, do I still actually have a fucking head? Do I have a normal organic brain still? Have I lost any limbs? You know? Have I transitioned to any degree? That'd be interesting. You know? Yeah, that's a filler word that I guess I use a lot. You know? Naruto, we gotta go, yo. Okay, well, that's it. Bye bye. Have a good day or night or whatever. Don't kill yourself. Bye bye.